How's it going, Starseekers? My name's Luke and welcome back to another SOS review, where today we're going to be taking a look at Star Wars Republic Commando, a tactical first-person shooter which released over 15 years ago on the behemoth that was the original Xbox, but has now just been ported to the Nintendo Switch. The game sees you taking control of Delta Squad, an elite team of clone commandos, as they embark on dangerous missions which include espionage, sabotage and assassinations, all in aid of the Republic war effort. Now, the game became a cult classic back in the day, but how well does it hold up by today's standards, and should Star Wars fans be picking it up for the Nintendo Switch? In this review, I aim to answer those questions, so hit that like button to support me and the channel, subscribe to be notified of future videos, and let's get started. So Republic Commando begins with a short introductory montage where we see the creation of Delta Squad, from our birth in the cloning factories to our education and combat training in the Republic training facilities. The intro ends with our team being deployed to the front lines of the Battle of Geonosis, where our first mission is to assassinate Sun Fac, a member of the Separatist Council. After riding into action aboard a Republic dropship, as team leader, our first task is to meet up with the rest of our squad, and this first section introduces you to the game's controls and several of Republic Commando's core gameplay mechanics. Before we get into this though, I have to say that I personally found the game's default control scheme a little awkward, but luckily in the options menu you're able to rebind all of the buttons to your liking. Now, Republic Commando plays pretty much like your standard first-person shooter, where levels generally involve you blasting your way through hordes of bad guys en route to a main objective, which usually gets interrupted by various problems and injects. You aim your weapon and move using the analog sticks, can shoot straight from the hip or aim down sights to improve your accuracy, and you have both a close quarters melee attack and several types of grenades at your disposal, assuming you can find the pickups for them. You begin the game with a standard assault rifle, but can obtain a selection of modifications to alter its firing modes, and these include a high-powered sniper rifle mod for taking down enemies at a distance, and an explosive shell mod which is great for taking down tougher enemies. You're also able to carry one additional weapon which is usually salvaged from dead enemies, and there is some good variety to these, including a shotgun, a submachine gun and a very powerful concussion rifle. Now, when it comes to your squad, you have 3 commandos at your disposal, with each of them supposedly having their own skill sets, though from what I could tell, these skill sets don't actually show themselves and any of the members of the team can perform tasks for you. Directing your team members is as simple as looking at a specific target and hitting the action button, and these commands include things like splicing or hacking doors and terminals, planting explosive devices to blow a bunch of stuff up, taking cover behind barriers to snipe at enemies, entering and operating fixed turrets, and forming up together to breach doorways. Your team can also revive you if you're downed or be directed to revive other downed commandos, and I really enjoyed these gameplay mechanics as it left you free to keep your hand in the action. I found the AI of my teammates was actually pretty decent, though there were occasions when they'd completely ignore my commands or do something stupid like Leroy Jenkins it into a room full of enemies. Now, Republic Commando's story is actually pretty good. It takes place just after the Clone Wars begin, and your mission objectives take you to a number of different locations, including the surfaces of Geonosis and Kashyyyk, the homeworld of the Wookiees. You also get to board several different space vessels, and despite their age, the visual aesthetics of both the planet's surfaces and ship interiors still hold up well even 16 years on. Each of these areas comes with its own unique enemy types, in addition to plenty of different droid variants which you'll encounter throughout the game, and overall I thought there was some good variety to them. Now, when it comes to the game's combat, here is where things get a little shaky, which is not really something that you want to hear when playing a first-person shooter, but when playing Republic Commando, it's important to remember the age of the game and how far first-person shooters have come since 2005, so I recommend you tailor your expectations with this one. To put it bluntly, combat in Republic Commando is basic. While you can command your squad to take up tactical positions and direct them to focus fire on certain targets, you should expect encounters to consist of waves of enemies with very simple AI, your teammates to be less than helpful in many situations, and difficulty to be ramped up by either throwing an increased number of enemies at you or bigger badder bullet sponges. I'll also warn you at this point that despite the game's age, the Nintendo Switch does not handle it very well, and you'll constantly experience dips in frame rates, be that from having too many enemies on the screen, the room being too large, or too many lighting effects on the go. These frame rate issues, coupled with fast moving enemies who jump around a lot, or others which are just complete bullet sponges, meant I frequently found myself dry on ammo and stuck using this shitty pistol, whilst relying on my teammates to take down overwhelming numbers of enemies. If you're looking to just enjoy the game's story without frequently having to reload from checkpoints, then I highly recommend heading into the options menu, sticking it on easy mode and turning auto aim on, which does help you save a bit of ammo by directing your bullets towards enemies a little. Now these frame rate issues are constant throughout the game but do get worse at certain points, and I'll admit now that they were the primary reason why I only made it halfway through Republic Commando before I stopped playing. Star Wars Republic Commando is actually a very good game, and I did have fun with it when my screen wasn't stuttering all over the place, but the problem is that these occasions were very few and mostly outside of combat. One of the biggest highlights of the game for me was its sound design, which as you'd expect features a great soundtrack and all the classic Star Wars sound effects. But the way in which your squad of commandos interacts is also pretty great, as they make sly digs at each other or comment on your actions and the world around them. Sadly though, great audio can't save the game, and yet again the Nintendo Switch can't deliver the goods with a 16-year-old game being too much for it to handle. Now don't get me wrong, the game is still playable and does appear to run a little better in handheld mode, but if you're looking for a dose of nostalgia or wanting to experience Republic Commando for the first time, then I recommend playing it on a different platform, as the Nintendo Switch version doesn't do the game justice, and the frame rate issues just add way too much frustration. With all things considered, I'm personally going to be rating the Switch version of Star Wars Republic Commando 2 out of 5 stars. Star Wars Republic Commando is undoubtedly a cult classic. It has an enjoyable story, some great gameplay mechanics, and while its combat does show its age a little, it's the Nintendo Switch that really lets this game down. You can get Republic Commando from the UK Switch eShop for £13.49 or from the US eShop for $14.99. Alternatively, the game's also available on PlayStation, Xbox and Steam. And that about does it for this review of Star Wars Republic Commando, so don't forget to hit that like button if it helped you out. Let me know what your favourite Star Wars game of all time is by dropping a comment down below, and subscribe to the channel as I upload new Switch game reviews every few days. For now though, I want to thank you all once again for watching, and until next time, may the Force be with you, and game on.